joining us. I'm Marvetta Coleman, and I am with the Children Matter Action Fund, which was started earlier this year to help citizens connect with lawmakers on critical issues affecting children across the Commonwealth. We support the Start Strong Pennsylvania, the Pre-K for PA, and the Childhood Begins at Home statewide campaigns and initiatives. We're really excited to hold this, which is the 11th of our candidates conversations that we have been holding across the Commonwealth. I want to extend a special thanks to Mandy Gerhard and Chris Whitesole of the Berks Intermediate Unit. They have been working diligent with us, and they are our partners for today's event. And we're just so pleased that they have been working so diligently to help bring this together. We know that this is an issue that is important, not only in this, certainly this short-term perspective, but certainly from a longer-term lens. And so we're really hosting these conversations as a part of a larger conversation for candidates and those who would become our elected officials to begin looking, or to continue looking in some cases, at this issue with a longer term lens with respect to the importance of high quality early learning education opportunities for our children and their families, along with the issue of childcare. And I'm sure that many on this webinar today have had personal experiences with the fragility of the system. I want to let you know that all candidates in Senate District 11, as well as House Districts 126 and 127, were invited to participate. Certainly, as Cherry mentioned earlier, this is a very busy season, and so we know that all candidate schedules don't allow for their participation, so we really want to extend our thanks to those who are with us today. We want to encourage you to visit our website, childrenmatteractionfund.org, where you will be able to see the views and responses of some of today's candidates to our survey, along with their signing on to what we call our Champion for Children's Pledge. Both of those documents were distributed actually to all the candidates in the House and the Senate races. Now, I think I want to turn us over to our moderator. If you listen to KYW radio, you have undoubtedly heard her voice, which is so quickly recognizable for her segments that she does in the community on issues that are of interest to the community, legal issues, social justice related issues. Hers is the voice that we will often hear. Cherry Gregg produces reports for KYW Radio, CBS 3 Television, and KYWNewsRadio.com. She is the executive producer and host of PowerPoint. See, I've been working so hard. Of Flashpoint, and it's Flashpoint with Cherry Gregg, and that is just one of the many signature projects that she does. And speaking of signature, if you listen to her sign off, you know that that's a signature also. So I am so happy that Cherry is with us today, and we want to say welcome, and the program is yours.
Thank you so much, Marvetta, and to Children Matter Action Fund for inviting me. I think this is the fourth candidates forum that I've had the opportunity to moderate. So I want to thank you all, as well as to your partners, for organizing these important discussions at a very critical time. We're in the middle of a pandemic. It's not easy educating voters. So thank you to the candidates who made time to talk about these important issues. Across the state, nearly 500,000 children face barriers to healthcare, education, and enrichment caused by poverty. And we know that all these barriers can impact how well they do later in life. And all of this was pre-COVID-19. The pandemic has underscored the need for attention to this issue, because we all know that so many of our children are in danger right now as we speak of falling between the many cracks in our systems. And that's why Children Matter Action Fund created this platform for candidates so that those who are closest to the pain, those providers and others, can ask the tough questions of those who seek office. And then they'll later hold you accountable. So no, they're not going anywhere, right? So speaking of the folks who made time for us today, I would like to introduce them. Thank you to Senator Judith Schwank, Senate District 11. Thank you to James Oswald, candidate for House District 126, and to Manny Guzman, candidate for House District 127. We appreciate your time and attention today. And now I want to, before we go to questions, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to some of the program participants who will be asking questions shortly. I'd like to welcome Christy Wetzel, Assistant Director, Office of Early Education and Student Services for Berks IU. Welcome. To Mandy Gerhard, Program Administrator, Berks IU. Barbara Starkey, Regional Director of Early Learning Resource Center, Region 13, Berks and Schuylkill. And finally, welcome to Mary Jimenez of United Way and the Head Start Policy Council. They will be sharing remarks later in the program as they ask questions of our candidates. I'd like to welcome a couple of speakers to welcome you as well. First up is David W. Patti, Director of Communications and Marketing for Customers Bank. David, you now have the floor. I think I made a mistake here. David's not here, so we'll move on. I believe, let me just double check. I see James Boscov, CEO of Boscov's and a member of the Pennsylvania Early Learning Investment Commission. James, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Sherry, and good afternoon. Yeah, as you say, I am speaking to you as a new member of the Pennsylvania Early Learning Investment Commission, which is a commission that's appointed by the governor of 50 senior level business leaders who recognize the importance and value of early learning and work to advance public and private investment. And we've all seen data that clearly demonstrates the importance of early learning in shaping the education and the capabilities of our future workforce and consequently Pennsylvania's economy. But I have to tell you that I've seen it on a much more personal level. For many years, my wife Cynthia worked with very young kids as an early childhood educator in a Berks County Intermediate Unit Center in downtown Reading. She told me about her work with one boy who was 3, and then the following year when he was 4, who was seeing abuse at home every day and acting out with violence as a result. Well, I got to meet Jim Lewis many years later when we were invited to his graduation from the Naval Academy at Annapolis. He graduated with honors, and he credits Cindy and the early childhood education program with changing the direction of his life. You really can make a difference when they're young. Affordable early education does more than just affect the kids. It allows parents to participate in the workforce. And now, as we're trying to rebuild our economy, it's more important than ever. You know, the pandemic has made an historic problem for Pennsylvania even worse. Since March, over 300 childcare providers in the states have closed permanently, and another 400 are temporarily closed. In Berks County alone, there are almost 27,000 children under the age of 5. 63% of them are living in poverty. 72% of them have both parents working outside the home. Well, as I've mentioned, I've personally seen that quality childcare is not babysitting. It's quality education that has lifelong benefits to the child and to society at large. That's why I'm very anxious to hear from our candidates today and learn what they can do to address an important need that we're struggling to meet today with important consequences for our children, our families, our business, and our economy. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, James, for those remarks. I see that Peggy Kirshner is here, Co-Executive Director of BCPS, Berks Connections, and Berks Workforce Development Board. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Cherry, and thank you for having me today. In my role as a board member of the Berks County Workforce Development Board and as a co-executive director of Berks Connections Pretrial Services, these issues of childcare and early learning are crucial. The Berks County Workforce Development Board has identified Berks County's largest labor supply challenge as being that of disconnected youths. And in 2017, the board, along with the United Way of Berks County, conducted a research project to profile disconnected and underemployed young adults. And what that study found was that Berks County is home to between 3,000 and 5,000 disconnected young adults. 90% of them have reported life circumstances that are common barriers to employment and education, and more than half of them had dropped out of school. In addition, parental employment, poverty, low parental educational attainment have really been shown to increase the likelihood of these young adults becoming disconnected. So these really are generational barriers. At BCPS, the other hat I'm wearing today, we serve individuals who are involved in the criminal justice system. And every day we have the opportunity to see yet another barrier of a parental factor that can lead to disconnection for young adults and youths. And that is having a parent that is incarcerated. And I was going to share some of the statistics that Jim did, but I can share just a couple others that really are startling. Approximately 10 million children have experienced an incarcerated parent at some point in their life. 1 in 43 children have a parent in prison. And of those children, over half of them are under the age of 10. The Department of Justice tells us that children of offenders are about 6 times more likely to become offenders themselves someday, and that 1 in 10 of those children will likely be in confinement before they hit the age of 18. So, obviously these are all huge barriers to not only childhood experiences, but for adults as well. Both the Workforce Development Board and BCPS offer programs for disconnected youths that help them attain GED and get them set on a career pathway. These programs are innovative, they're successful, we're helping a lot of folks, but it's just not enough. And as I'm sure you can imagine, as individuals become older, making these sorts of remediations gets a lot tougher, and really the time to do this work is when they are young. So addressing these issues, the preschool issue, the school-age children, is so very important to the community. So I'm anxious to hear what everybody has to say, and I am going to I can't be in front of a crowd without throwing my contact information into the chat box and BCPS's website if anybody would like some more information about what we do. But thank you.
I apologize. I'm dealing with a fire drill. It's a test in my bed. I live in a high rise, and but it's a test, and it's gonna. So I do apologize. I did not know about it. So hopefully we can power through, and I can hand this over to David Patti, Director of Communications and Marketing at Customers Bank. Hopefully this will stop soon, and I apologize.
Thanks, Sherry. What's an election year without a fire drill, right? It's my pleasure to be with you today. I appreciate the invitation. Apologies that I was in with the regular audience and not in with the panelists at first when first called upon. But delighted to be here with you today. As Sherry said, I'm with Customers Bank. We're a $17.9 billion bank that has its executive offices here in Berks County, but we have offices and we conduct sales and provide financial services across the country. I'm pleased to be here today representing Ready Nation, an organization with which I've worked for about a dozen years. Ready Nation is a bipartisan network of business executives across all industries who work to promote public policy that will help to enhance education, workforce, the economy. I'm also the treasurer of a statewide organization called Pennsylvania Partnerships for Children, which has long been an advocate for early childhood education and children's services. And as some of you know, I previously served as the CEO of the Pennsylvania Business Council, one of the first organizations in the state to really champion and embrace early childhood education and quality education policy. From the point of view of the business community, there's very few things in the election that are as important as a strong dialogue on early care and education. It's relevant to rebuilding the economy after the pandemic, but it's relevant every day and at all times in our economy. Early care and education opportunities for working families are critical to the success of every facet of the economy and every facet of society. The skills that every future job and career will need, teamwork, empathy, resilience, are all shaped by educational experiences early in life. Investments in high quality childcare, pre-K, and evidence-based home visiting pay off when children enter school ready to succeed, are more likely to stay on track academically, graduate from high school, pursue higher education and career training, and become more productive workers and contributors to our future economy. Additionally, with more than 2/3 of the nation's children under the age of 6 having all available parents in the workforce, childcare and early education programs are also critical support to the present day workforce. COVID certainly has put new stresses on healthcare and our understanding of how fragile our care system is for children. But nothing was probably more evident than what happened in the child care sector. Right now, as a lot of Americans are transitioning back to work, we're still seeking opportunities and systems that can provide childcare so that they can return to a workplace, or in ways that they can work from home and still have care for the children who are under school age. And of course, an issue even for us here at the bank is the school age children who in fact are at home while parents are trying to return to work. When parents do not have reliable, affordable, quality childcare, their work suffers, their productivity plummets, and they have difficulty advancing in their careers. So we know that there'll be no economic recovery if the childcare industry collapses, and our nation's long-term well-being depends on a childcare infrastructure that works for every family. As we think about all of these things and the public policy at the federal, state, and local level that impact them, we know that these are issues we have to take to our candidates. There's an election just 2 weeks away, and it's important that we hear from all the candidates, hear their views, share with them the impact that public policy has on all the stakeholders in the community. And we applaud everybody who enters the public arena, is willing to take the chance of trying to become an elected official. For everyone who puts it out there and says, here's what I believe in, I hope you will share and embrace my beliefs, but I want to hear from you. And so we want to thank everybody who helped put today's event together, and especially thank those candidates who are taking the time to do the important thing of running for public office. Thank you for the chance to be with you today.
All right, thank you very much. Next is Dr. Yamil Sanchez Rivera, Assistant Superintendent with the Reading School District, Ready, Set, Read board member.
Thank you, Sherry. And I do want to note that what just happened with you is probably just indicative of the year 2020. So we'll just take it with a grain of salt and keep moving forward.
Thank you.
Just wanted to clarify. So I'm the Chief Administrative Officer with the Reading School District. Dr. Jen Murray is the Assistant Superintendent and a great partner and ally in the work that we're doing. And I've had the pleasure to work for United Way as the Senior Vice President for Community Impact, where part of my responsibility was the Ready, Set, Read initiative. So I come to this opportunity with a blend of the work in the nonprofit world and what I'm doing now with the Reading School District. So specifically, I wanted to share that the public school system is, especially the students and the staff that make up that system, is one of the many critical organizations being impacted by the pandemic. It's in the news every day. Everyone sees that. There is an endless list of issues that we can raise related to how the pandemic has made academic success of children an even more difficult reality, especially for children who are living in poverty. The immediate, some examples of that long list could be the immediate focus for families to figure out how to make ends meet, how to pay rent, how to pay utilities, and what I have personally seen, how to figure out how to get food on their table. At Ready School District, we've distributed thousands of meals via our food service program, and also in partnership with Helping Harvest. Another difficult reality in today's world is the dangers related to the physical and mental health, as we unfortunately are beginning to see here in the city of Reading with a number of shootings and also some suicides. or even navigating the digital divide in order to learn and grow during this virtual environment for the Reading area, for the Reading School District. That's a really big divide to try to bring together. We, as of last month, distributed 15,683 Chromebooks to families that needed a device in order for their children to be able to connect to our virtual learning environment. We're also working with Comcast to promote the Internet Essentials Partnership Program that helps families that need internet and the district would be paying for. However, I would like to focus, instead of all those possible issues, I like to focus on one foundational piece of the puzzle connected to academic success: early learning. The early learning which is provided by high quality and licensed childcare providers. To paint a picture as to why it's important to me and to the Reading School District, I want to share a few facts to help define our district and the needs of the families that we serve. We're the 4th largest school district in the state of Pennsylvania, with nearly 18,000 students. The district has 19 schools, which includes 13 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, and 1 senior high school. The Reading School District is an urban Title I school with a district-wide eligible food program due to the high numbers of students who are designated as low income. We're located in a high poverty community with over 90% of students coming from low income families. And add on to that, the language with language, where 25% of our students are English language learners. These community conditions create a challenging environment that ensures that children entering schools, necessitates kids need to enter school ready to learn. High quality childcare and early learning centers are essential bridges for our children that makes a difference between academic progress or their failure. The negative effects of entering schools not ready to learn affects their confidence and can lead to other negative outcomes. The success of many communities across the state, especially Reading, depends on the success of our early learning system. High quality, affordable childcare and early learning is paramount for Reading families for 2 major reasons. 1, it provides our parents who are furthering their education or working the needed support for their non-school age children. And 2, the centers are pivotal resources to help with our children's brain development and language development, which is foundational for their long-term academic success. My last comment is that an investment in early learning and affordable high-quality childcare pays many dividends beyond the immediate childcare and learning provided to the children in those programs. So it's not just childcare. It's not just what they're learning today. As a current MBA student that's in a class right now this semester, learning how to dissect financial information to make everyday business decisions, there's one lesson that connects to what we're talking about today. It's called the time value of money. Simply put, the time value of money means your dollar today is worth more than your dollar tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker, and I want to try to keep the remarks short just so we can get to our candidates. And last but not least, Tammy White. And I'm really sorry, Tammy, to have said that when you're the last person. So I do apologize, but we want to get as many questions as possible. Tammy White is president of United Way of Berks County.
No problem, Cherry. I get it. So just really quickly, United Way is focused on education and early learning, and affordable quality childcare is at the top of the list. And really, it's the science behind brain development that explains the imperative for early learning and quality affordable childcare. Children are born learning, and from birth to age 5, our brains develop more than any other time in our life. And a child's positive and supportive relationship with adults at that time is incredibly important. And in addition to parents, it's having caring, capable, care providers and teachers that are going to encourage that brain development and the connections that are made between cells. Because once you hit a certain age, those connections are much more difficult to form. And so that's why it's so important that we have child care centers that are high quality, star rated 3 and 4, and there's just not enough of them in our community. And another issue that we are struggling with right now as a community is that there's not enough interest in positions at child care centers. And when you recognize that child care educators are paid $10 an hour on average, I think it's easy to understand why it's hard to attract and retain the individuals that we need to support the development of our children, take care of them, while the rest of us are at work and doing what we need to do to support our families and to support our local economy. Thank you. Hope that was quick enough.
Tammy, excellent. Thank you so much. And I know everybody is very passionate about this issue. And I just want to make sure that we get those questions to the folks that people will be casting a ballot for in just a few days. I want to first just give a shout out to Chris Daubert. He is here, brought students from Wilson. Thank you so much for being here. This is a wonderful education of the electoral process. And we're gonna jump right in. I wanna say thank you again to our 3 candidates, Senator Judith Schwank, James Oswald, and Manny Guzman. I'll tell you quickly how it works. You have 2 minutes to answer each question that is posed. Marvetta Coleman is here. Hopefully you have a gallery view for if you are one of the speakers. Marvetta will wave time cards. Marvetta, show them they have a red one, 30 seconds, there it is, and red for when it's done. And so I do apologize again, I'm having a test here. So we're gonna jump in with the first question, and I welcome Christy Wetzel from Berks IU to get started.
Thanks, Sherry. I just want to do a quick thank you to the candidates and for the business leaders and community leaders that have spoken today. Their commitment to coming and participating really attests to the information that we are here to talk about, that early learning education. So as the Assistant Director for Early Childhood Programs at the Berks County Intermediate Unit, I do recognize this early learning firsthand. We do support different programs here at the BCIU. And again, it's very important for us to make sure these candidates' information is heard. So I will move on with the first question. COVID-19 has had a significant impact on early child care and education providers, and has also exposed the fragility of the child care system. While many programs have reopened, there are those that have closed and still others that are considering whether they can remain open. Addressing the impact of COVID-19 on the infrastructure of early child care and the education is critical to families, businesses, and the state's overall operations and economy. As it relates to the thousands of employees who depend on these small businesses, what do you think is important to help families and young children to operate effectively in this environment?
And we'll start with State Senator Judith Schwank first.
Okay, great. First, thank you for putting this together. I've been in numerous candidate forums in my career, but this is the first one that has been about childcare and early learning, and that's a significant accomplishment, I have to say. So, how important is early learning and the issue of childcare? Just this morning, I was on a Zoom call with our appropriations committee, and we were talking about how we're going to, balance our budget and what are the programs that we are going to have to, cut, and what are those that we're going to have to support. And most certainly, this was one of the programs that we highlighted as being something that we have to continue to invest in. This is a make or break kind of investment in terms of the future of our workforce, of just the prosperity of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So yes, the pandemic has pointed out issues, most certainly. I've also been on a call with actual providers themselves and talking with them about the issues that they faced in paying their bills. What we have been able to do is from the CARES Act, from the $4 billion that we received from the federal government, we've been able to put $220 million into to child care providers, either through the state and then directly into the checking accounts of providers, so that they can at least stay afloat while we're trying to get people back to work. And I note today that our unemployment numbers continue to fall, but there still are significant issues. We still don't, we're still going to continue to lose daycare providers. I think it's about 220 centers have already closed. So with the remaining CARES Act funds, one of the things that I've been advocating for is that we take about 75 million of that. It's about 1.3 billion left, and invest that too in early learning and in and for daycare providers. This, 30 years ago, I faced problems in finding good childcare. And I was fortunate, and I will give a shout out to the BCIU. My daughter was in subsidized childcare, daycare, and she was able to thrive in that program. I know firsthand how important this is. We have to continue to invest.
Thank you very much, Senator Judith Schwank. Next up, James Oswald for House District 126. You now have the floor.
There we go. Hello? Yeah, so am I there? I'm seeing myself.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Speaking. We can hear you and see you.
Okay, sorry for the background, but I work in a garage, so had to take the hour to do this. Yes, so anyhow, I sit on a church council with Freedom's Lutheran Church. We have a pre-K daycare, and I understand the necessity of it, because early learning is the foundation of the building blocks of everything the child learns from there on. We had to shut down our daycare due to COVID, and then we rapidly assessed what we would need to do to get it back open, because not only are getting the children back in the classroom important, but the families had to get back to work as soon as they could. So we assessed the situation. We were able to get the children back. We got the families back to work. And I see, I agree with Senator Schwank that, any monies that are out, she knows more about the monies that's available than I do, not being in Harrisburg, but any monies that are available, I really feel need to get put towards the early learning so we can get the pre-K system back up and running.
All right, thank you so much. And I do apologize for this test. Next up is Manny Guzman, House District 127. You now have the floor.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. My name is Manny Guzman, and I'm proud to say that I think I'm the only candidate on the forum today who's actually served on the school board. So I was a Reading school board member from 2013 to 2017, and primarily campaigned on the fact of early education, and more specifically, the importance of being able to hit the third grade reading mark in terms of being able to hit academic benchmarks in the future. So this is an issue that's really, really important to what I want to do as a state legislature and my values in general. And one of the things I'll say is that COVID-19 has really shined a really bright light just on the cracks in the institutions, from education to our economy to even the political process hasn't gone away from COVID-19. And quite frankly, in my opinion, when we come out of post-COVID, whatever the world looks like in post-COVID-19, I think the focus needs to be on providing the resources and providing the spotlight on our most marginalized communities. So that means like in cities like Reading, where serving on the Reading School Board and understanding and knowing that unfortunately too many brown and black kids are falling through the cracks. And quite frankly, they were falling through the cracks even before COVID-19. And so now as we go into this pandemic, Dr. Sanchez talked about the digital divide. You know, we have early childhood centers that are closing. And so right now, there are tons of families right now who are feeling the squeeze and feeling the crunch. And quite frankly, they deserve representation in Harrisburg who's going to speak truth to those power, but also fight for the every last resource that we deserve here in the city of Reading to ensure that we're providing all of our kids the quality education that they deserve. And so, you know, education, early childhood education is one persistent challenge. We have a persistent challenge of being able to fund, being able to fund our school districts equitably. And so these are the things that I think we need to focus on in a post-COVID-19 world to make sure that those most marginalized among us have the resources they need for a fair shot at life.
Thank you very much. And that was Manny Guzman, candidate for House District 127. For the next question, we have 90 seconds per candidate, just so we can get to as many questions as possible. Next up is Mandy Gerhard from Berks IU. She'll ask question number 2. Mandy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And again, I just want to thank everybody for their time and being with us today to talk about this very important issue. So I will jump right into it. I'm the program administrator here at the Berks County IU for the Head Start program. So using last fiscal year as our base, since it was pre-pandemic, approximately 32,000 children were enrolled in state-funded high-quality pre-K. However, that number stands in a stark contrast to the nearly 102,000 eligible children in rural, suburban, and urban communities without access to a high-quality, publicly funded program. What are your thoughts on the importance of high-quality pre-K for our children, and how can Pennsylvania significantly increase funding slots for families and these early learners?
And we will start first with James Oswald, then Manny Guzman, and Senator Judith Schwank, who will be third on this one. 90 seconds. James, you're up.
Okay. Well, not being in Harrisburg, I don't know the numbers and what money is available, but I feel that we need to find money, as in the last question. I feel we need to find the monies necessary to reinforce the early learning programs. Whether we have to shift tax dollars from one way to the other or whatever, but it is important that we do that. One of the other problems I find is that kind of leading into the past question is that internet access and things like that, which also help in early learning, aren't available in certain areas, and those things need to be boosted also with infrastructure. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that go into it.
Thank you very much, Manny Guzman.
And as the alarms go off, yeah, I would say, y'all, that in my opinion, budgets are visionary documents, and quite frankly, I think we need to have an honest conversation as legislators in Harrisburg in terms of where our priorities are. Are our priorities funding big business and giving tax breaks to the 1%, or are our priorities making sure that no brown or black kids or rural poor white kids are not making sure that they get the education that they deserve? And so I think this battle is a moral battle, quite frankly. We have to present our ideas and fight for these things, because quite frankly, too many times in Harrisburg, folks like us, folks who come from my communities, rural, white, poor folks, are not getting the resources that they deserve because, unfortunately, our budgetary values are not aligned with our priorities.
Thank you so much. Senator Schwank, you now have the floor. And you're muted, I think, yeah. There you go.
Okay. I agree with my colleagues. We definitely need to think of this as an investment in terms of Head Start. In fact, in all of the programs that all of you are here talking about today or representing, these are investments. And while they may seem to be costly in the beginning, where they help us is later on when we see reduction in the costs of workforce training, reductions in the costs that we will have with the criminal justice system, or in terms of substance abuse issues. There's so many ways that this makes a positive impact. But we, of course, the state has limited resources. One of the things that I've been advocating for is we can't let our federal partners off the hook either. The federal government does have a role certainly to play in Head Start and the bulk of these programs, as a matter of fact. I see it as a partnership, and I also see the possibility of private entities investing in these types of programs as well. We heard from business leaders like Patti and Jim Boscov, who talk about how they know how important this is. They're not the only ones. We need to engage a lot of people in this conversation so that they can understand that the state has to fulfill their commitment and go above and beyond, but it also is a responsibility of the federal government in terms of funding and the business community as well.
Thank you so much. And again, I apologize for this fire alarm test. Barbara Starkey, Regional Director of Early Learning Resource Center, Region 13, Berks and Schuylkill, will now ask question 3.
Good afternoon, everyone. For anyone who may not know, the Early Learning Resource Center manages the subsidized childcare program and the Keystone Stars Quality Improvement Rating System. So let's take this question back to childcare. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the need for high quality childcare outweighed the supply, with only 43% of licensed childcare capacity meeting high quality standards. In addition, the number of childcare providers had declined over the past 5 years. As you know, the state's subsidized childcare program, Childcare Works, helps working families defray the costs of childcare. However, the state's subsidy rates do not cover the cost of high quality care. What measures would you support to address this gap in payment and shortages of access to high quality care for working families, especially infants and toddlers?
And we'll start with Manny Guzman. You have the floor.
Thank you. And I can tell you that this is hitting home for me personally, quite frankly, because my sister, who is a single mom of 3 kids, right now is struggling to find high quality childcare for her own kids. And so like my sister, I know that there are thousands of other women in the city of Reading and millions more across the Commonwealth who are suffering from this and need solutions for this. And quite frankly, without looking at the budget, I can't tell you for sure. But the one thing I can tell you is this, is that, again, I believe that budgets are visionary documents. And I also believe that we need to start being creative in terms of some of these revenue sources. Maybe it's, legalizing cannabis, right? Maybe we can take some of those fundings and make sure that we can have some of these funding streams available for early childhood education. The point is that I think, 1, budgets are visionary documents, and I'll always vote with those values in mind. And 2, I'm interested in finding out-of-the-box solutions to these very complex and very complex issues.
Thank you. Senator Schwank, you now have the floor.
So again, I'll thank you for, for me, 35 years ago, as a single mom myself, having the availability of subsidized childcare made a world of difference for us. And right now, my daughter is raising my grandchildren, and I'm helping to subsidize daycare because even as a professional woman, she cannot afford to pay for high quality care. There's something very, very wrong with our system. And if we value the work of women in the workforce and we understand the importance of great childcare, making sure that our children get all the resources that they need to help that developing mind really grow and give them the right start to head into school and later into the workforce, we have to say this is a value that's important to us. And therefore, we've got to invest more in certainly in childcare. And I know I have been an advocate with the budget office here in Harrisburg. I am there, so I do know. And I know that we rely an awful lot on federal funds rather than putting some of the investments in that the state should be doing as well. This is a two-way street. So I will continue to advocate for that because I know personally how important it is to know that your child is learning. You're not there, you're in the workforce. It is critically important for people to function as workers to know that their kids are well cared for. And yes, you know, there should be options available to lots of families. Maybe it's your mom that does the daycare for you or your neighbor. If that's what you choose, that's fine. But for most of our kids, having those Keystone Stars, those 3 and 4 rated centers are what we want. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about it. Thank you.
We appreciate your passion, Senator Schwank. We now will have Mary Jimenez of United Way and a member of the Head Start Policy Council to ask question number 4.
I didn't get the answer number question 3.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize. James,
I know you want to get through this, but I'd like
question number 3. I do apologize and thank you for that. It's a little
not a problem.
You have
Not a
the
problem.
floor.
You know, maybe what we need to do is, instead of, you know, right now the way schools are set up, they look at children from kindergarten on. Maybe they need to start, you know, looking at children from age 3 on. And maybe I make it sound too simple, but it seems to me if the state were to say there's X amount of children from age 3 to age 18, and there's X amount of state school funding, and we split that money up among all them children. Now, obviously, students age 3 and 4 don't require as much money for their education as from 5 on. But if we doled out money per student, you know, maybe we could figure out a better way to do funding. I mean, because I really think the current funding structure is very antiquated across the state. And maybe if we reconfigured that, we would have the money we're looking for to help educate the pre-K children.
Thank you so much, James Oswald. And again, my apologies.
That's okay.
We'll now have Mary Jimenez for question number 4. You now have the floor.
Good afternoon. So I am the early childhood and community engagement program manager. So I am definitely at United Way, and I'm definitely in the trenches with the childcare. I'm sure you would agree that early childcare and education staff are essential and provide critical supports for families and children. However, the sector is plagued by low wages and, as a result, high turnover of staff. United Way of Pennsylvania found that the average compensation of childcare workers is $9.74 per hour. And Children Matter Action Fund partners know that providers lose staff to places like Target and even fast food chains. What are your ideas about how to adequately compensate and improve the retention of qualified professionals to educate children?
Thank you. We'll start with Senator Schwank. You're first up for this question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm happy that you've asked this question, Mary. I know you well, and I know the program that you coordinate, and it is one that I support. United Way, under the auspices of Ready, Set, Read, created a program where they are incentivizing young women and men, I was assumed to enter the workforce as childcare workers, helping them to get their degree, their certificate in early learning, and allowing them to get a wage while they are getting their, while they're learning in school, and then training individuals to be exactly the type of people that we want in caring for our children. I've learned of this program and was very excited about it and helped them to get a grant from the Department of Justice. I think it's about $200,000. And as a result of that, now I think there's about 42 candidates, individuals who actually had the opportunity to go through this program. That's something that works. It's innovative. It's something that reaches into the community, not only helps our children, but women probably who would be on subsidy themselves, were they not to be able to get this full-time employment. It is important that we invest in every aspect of childcare, from the individuals who will be working with our children to the facilities that they'll be in as well, and the kinds of resources that we provide to them to be able to care for kids. I think those great ideas are out there. This is a program I think that should be modeled all over the state and beyond in terms of helping us to figure out how we make childcare better. And again, Mary, kudos to you for being a mentor to those young women in that program. You've done an outstanding job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to encourage those in the audience to feel free to comment in the chat box. And to the extent we can get to your questions, we will try to do that. Next up is James Oswald from House District 126. You now have the floor to answer question number 4.
Yes. I mean, yeah. As far as the salaries, I feel it's criminal that you can make more money at a fast food joint than you can educating, pre-K children. Something definitely needs to happen. Whether the state puts in money to make up the difference of what they're currently getting paid or whatever, but they should be able to make a decent wage considering they're the whole starting point of these children's education building block. And I feel that, yes, we definitely need to figure out a way to supplement their income to get them up to a wage where it's presentable.
Thank you so much. Manny Guzman, you now have the floor.
Hey, y'all. So I wrote down a couple of points. And quite frankly, I think number one, right, we need to increase the minimum wage. I mean, it's unfortunate that folks are working for $10 an hour, and like an increase in the minimum wage and tying that to inflation so that we don't have to have a conversation about this ever again, would think that that's the number one thing. Second, right, I think we need to increase starting salaries for new teachers. I think a lot of the problem why my generation doesn't want to become teachers, right, is because the starting salaries are so low and we're graduating with over $100,000 in student loan debt. And so if we want folks to come into our urban school districts and not go to the Lower Marions of the world, then we need to ensure that our starting teacher salaries are up to par. Third, we need to expand our social safety nets. We need to make sure that no kid, no family who wants to sign their kids up for these type of programs, that there's funding available to make this stuff happen. And fourth, quite frankly, we need a commitment from our state legislature to fully fund pre-K and early childhood programs. And as I've said, and I will continue to say, budgets are visionary documents, and we need to go to bat for these values when we're in Harrisburg, and I plan to do just that.
Thank you very much, Manny Guzman. I'll ask this question before I give everybody an opportunity to do a closing statement. Question number 5, evidence-based home visiting has been shown to have positive lifelong impacts for vulnerable families and to aid in developing relationships with families that increase positive family outcomes. Children at risk of child abuse and neglect, or who live in poverty and or experience poor education and health outcomes, suffer the most from parenting inadequacies and stand to benefit the most from home visiting supports. Currently, only 2% of all children under 6 and only 5% of low-income children under 6 are receiving these critical services. Can you share with us, candidates, what you know about these programs and how you think they could be expanded? If you don't think they should be expanded, what alternatives do you envision to support these children and their families? And James Oswald of House District 126, we'll start with you.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to plead ignorance on this. I have very little knowledge of this program. I would have to research it, but I would, if it's benefits to children, I'd be in favor of it, and I'd be in favor of trying to see where the money's available to help improve that system.
Thank you, Manny. You're next.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I would say is, quite frankly, in the Reading School District, we're having a really tough time dealing with habitual truancy, and quite frankly, truancy that runs generationally within families. In my own family, I know that, most of my family members missed about 20 to 30% of a school year in any given year. And so when you have families like that who need that type of personal touch from folks knocking on their door, that's how we loop folks back in. And that's how we connect these folks to the critical resources that they need. And quite frankly, that can't be the only approach though, right? We need a holistic approach when we're talking about dealing with families who live in deep poverty. So whether it's having the school district send somebody knocking on their door, making sure that we have expanded safety nets so that they can minimally be able to meet their basic needs, hook them up with mental health counselors and or drug counselors. And so we have to start thinking about our approaches to these things in a more holistic manner, because only then will I really truly believe that we'll start hitting at the true core of this, which is deep poverty. And that's what's driving a lot of this within our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Manny Guzman. Finally, we'll have State Senator Judith Schwank.
I think what you're talking about are nurse-family partnership programs. And I had the opportunity to visit the program in Berks County. I attended a session, one of their spring meetings, where they had all of these young mothers. Imagine a room, a huge room full of young moms and babies, some of them crying, of course, and toddlers as well. And I could see the interactions between the individuals that are visiting them in their homes, as well as the mothers interacting with each other. None of us are born necessarily knowing how to be a parent. Imagine you're a young mom with no resources and you're on your own and you have a baby. How do you know what to do? These are such outstanding programs, really, ideas that actually are very old, but they are investments. They are programs that cost a little bit, but they can make a huge amount of difference. What I like about nurse-family partnership is that it's not just about the baby. It's about the whole family. It's about the moms. And by the way, there were some dads there too. So it's about making sure that family understands how to raise a baby. What does it mean to be a parent? Where are the resources that we need in order to help our families? If we can help families, parent by parent, child by child, we're not only going to make a difference in this community, Reading and Berks County, but throughout this Commonwealth. There's some great ideas out there, good programs, and they're there. We just have to stand up and say, we'll commit to them.
Thank you very much, Senator Schwank. And again, I apologize for our fire alarm test here. And I would like to invite each of you to take a minute and just give closing remarks. And when your time is up, please provide contact information to your website. And we'll start with Manny Guzman, candidate for House District 127. You have the floor. 1 minute for closing remarks.
Thank you again for putting this together. I truly appreciate it. I'm a kid who grew up in the city of Reading, went to public school, has served my community as a Reading school board member. And now I'm ready to go to Harrisburg and fight for us, fight for our values, fight for equal funding, fight for a criminal justice reform, fight for every last resource that we need in our community to make it the best place that it can be. And so I'm honored and humbled to be in this position and honored to hopefully have your vote this November 3rd so that we can write a new history here for the city of Reading. You can find more about me. My website is votefordmannyguzman.com, or you can look me up on Facebook at Guzman for the 127th. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Senator Schwank, you have the floor, 1 minute, and please provide contact information at the conclusion of your remarks.
Thank you. And again, thank you for this forum. I hope you can tell how passionate I am about this. Not only do I, serve on the Early Childhood Caucus in the Senate and the House, but I'm also the co-chair of the Women's Health Caucus, where we talk a lot about maternal health and particularly the issues that women of poverty face in childbirth and beyond. I truly believe it's a core value of mine that if we can do whatever we can to improve the lives of families and particularly our children, our young parents and children, babies and toddlers, we can make huge differences in the outcomes that we see in this Commonwealth and certainly in this community as well. I'm ready to go back to Harrisburg to continue to work on those issues and to help you. I'm a hands-on person. So if you have programs that you'd like me to see and to be an advocate for, invite me, because I will go and I will learn about your program and I will be your champion here to talk about them. In terms of my website, my Senate website is senatorschwank.com, has a list of my legislation and things that I've done in upcoming programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Schwank. Final word goes to James Oswald, candidate for House District 126. And don't forget to put your contact information at the conclusion of your remarks.
Okay, again, thank you for inviting me to this forum. I have 15 years in background in township as a township supervisor. So that's kind of where my background is. I've been in fire and EMS for 30 years, and I've spent 20 years in the military. Early education is not my background, but I do understand the importance of early education. And if I'm elected to Harrisburg, I would do everything I can to put money there for the early education programs. And you can check me out. My website is James Oswald for State Rep, and my Facebook page is James Oswald for State Rep. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James Oswald. And thank you to everybody who attended today. And I apologize again. I've been dealing with this. Thank you to James Oswald, House District 126, Senator Judith Schwank, Senate District 11, and Manny Guzman, House District 127. And I'll give the mantle back to Marvetta Coleman for the concluding remarks here.
Sherry, we want to thank you. You have shown a considerable amount of grace under this pressure. And what's a little live broadcast without the need for us to adjust accordingly? So we all have an appreciation for the situation. And I want to thank our candidates because you all have brought your passion, you've brought your insights, your ideas, and your candidness about the need and desire to know more about a particular topic. And that's really quite insightful in itself. Thank you to the Berks IU for, again, your assistance and hard work in coordinating today's conversation. Also want to thank all of our business leaders who were a part of our top of the line opening, along with our assistant superintendent and other educators, and certainly the teacher who wanted to expose the class to this opportunity firsthand, to Chris Daubert. So thank you so much. Just want to encourage the candidates that may not have done so yet, go to the Children Matter Action Fund website and complete the survey and complete the pledge that you are going to be a champion for children, because based on everything we heard today, that is certainly your intention. And we'd love to have you be a part of the listings that we have on the website. We will be adding today's conversation to the Children Matter Action Fund YouTube channel. And certainly we want you all to go there, share that with others that may not have been able to participate today, and let them know and let them hear for themselves the responses of some of the candidates that are running to represent you. Lastly, and definitely not least, make sure that you are voting. We have many options now for voting. There's mail-in, there is drop off your ballots at a satellite center in some communities. There is in person. So just please make sure that you are exercising your vote so that on November the 3rd, you will know that you have participated in the process for making a difference in our communities. Thank you again, Cherry Gregg, and for everyone. Have a great rest of the week. Be safe, and we look to see you again soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.